It's Electric Drives. Your electric vehicle future starts right now. Welcome to the show. I'm Anthony Algmin, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bob Reese. We created this show to make it easier for others looking to move to electric vehicles, and in a world of $5 and $6 gasoline, that's more and more people every day. We're out there using electric vehicles in our normal lives, and we'll share the wisdom we've gained from living with EVs every day. You can join in the conversation by sending your questions and topic ideas to questions@electricdrives.us, by joining our Facebook group, or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/electricdrives to get more direct access and help support the show. We're here to share and learn together and reduce the confusion we encounter when going from gasoline to electric vehicles. So let's get started. Bob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk about the phone apps an EV owner will find most useful. So Bob, what's your favorite app?
The number one app that I really like is PlugShare. And it's really nice because it's a cloud-based user interface one where everybody can respond and offer suggestions, give ratings. And the good thing about it is it also keeps up with changes in what's going on. For instance, there was a number of locations in Iowa City where the level 3 DC fast chargers, they were charging 30 cents a kilowatt to use them, plus another 25 cents per minute to use it. And they got feedback from a lot of people, probably because people stopped using them. And many of those locations have dropped the price. So with the PlugShare, you can see what the pricing is. You can see how people have rated it, because not all chargers are up 100% of the time. And it's kind of nice to go to a cluster of chargers and see, okay, and PlugShare will also give you an idea of the occupancy. So you'll pick out a town, say Iowa City, and you'll take a look and you go, oh, this one's occupied, but there's another one down the street with similar pricing, so I'll just go to that one.
And so the PlugShare is, for anybody, especially a non-Tesla owner, is the bread and butter, like, core app that you're going to have on your phone. It is a map at its core. You can search, you can filter based on your particular electric vehicle, on the charging rates that you find acceptable, on the score of the different charging stations, on how, what distance you're looking to go towards. Like, it really is full featured, and it's crowdsourced in terms of the data that's in it. And it tends to be pretty reliable, I find, and really an essential component, because it crosses all of the charging options. Because what we see, and this is something, this is one of the reasons that we started the podcast, is that I was tired of having everything be tied to whichever car I happen to buy. Like, everything is a Volkswagen, or everything's the Mustang Mach-E, or everything's a Tesla. It's like, but I just want to charge the car. I don't care if it's Electrify America or EVgo or whatever the charging network is. I just want to see all the options so I can go to it. It's like one of those gas apps where you're trying to find the lowest price for gasoline. You're not just searching BP or Amoco or whatever because you're super loyal to that brand. No, you don't want to do that. But all of these vendors are only going to show you their own. And so by having this third party PlugShare app, you can really get all of the information you need. And it's useful for the Teslas too. Like, it will tell you what, where that station is. There's pictures. So that was one of the things that I found especially helpful. Was the pictures that people had taken, because sometimes these things are buried in parking lots and a box store somewhere, and you're like, where in this parking lot do I go? And you see a picture and it's like, okay, now I know, and now I know what it looks like. I can get a sense of the area. Like, is it a dangerous area potentially? Is it well lit? Whatever it is. But the other thing too is you kind of want to know, is there stuff nearby? Like, if it's, some days I would like to go to a Walmart parking lot because I can stop for half an hour and go pick up some stuff, or what have you. It's especially helpful when I'm on a road trip because I might want some supplies for the hotel room that night or whatever it is, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, and it's really handy because you can also, some of the apps, PlugShare, you can pull up a map and figure out what is in that vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
So you see not only the pricing, but you see what's locally available. I do use my app that came with the car, though. It does come up with, it'll figure out how far I can go between charging stops, and it'll make sure that I have a cushion, and I can vary the amount on the cushion so that if I'm hitting a town, say Iowa City, it'll come up with, okay, you can stop at this one. And if you don't like that one for some reason, like when they were charging, putting on surcharges just for parking, you could say, okay, I want a different location in that town. And then it will also come up with how many things are shopping in that area. So it can give you ideas on what to do to fill your time if you're looking for lunch or something like that.
Yeah, and so I want one more note on the PlugShare thing is that I find that's very useful when I'm kind of in the tinkering mode where I'm like, I want to solve my own challenges. I want to go to the next stop. I know what route I'm taking and all of that. There's the, like you mentioned, the maker, we'll call them the maker apps or the manufacturer apps, which are the GM app or the Tesla app or the Volkswagen app. Whatever car you have, you will have an app for that car. And the first thing to note is that the capabilities of these apps vary wildly between different makers. I've seen, obviously Tesla's well known for their phone as a key and all of the craziness that they put in their apps, and they've got a ton of stuff, and you can even buy floor mats from your app. It does, like, there's a ton of stuff you can do in the Tesla app, and that's probably the gold standard for that. But a lot of the core functionality that a lot of these car makers have is like you mentioned, the route planning that's tied to your car, where it knows, hey, these are charging stations that are going to be compatible. This is some of the things, the amenities that you might be interested in. They try to ease that experience for the kinds of things that the owners of their cars may want to have. And that's something that I feel like is an area that when you're considering, this goes back to some of the conversations that we've had previously, is if you are in the market for a new car, don't just look at the car. Recognize that the software and the phone app is part of that deal, and go review that. Pick it up. They're all free. Just pick up the app, see what you can get in there, and go to the message boards tied to that maker and find out what people are saying about the software and about the app, because you may want some features that it doesn't have, or you may not care about a bunch of the features that it does have, but you want to not be surprised when you do get that car and you realize, oh, the phone is going to be part of this experience, which is kind of odd to me because you don't actually need the phone and the electric powertrain to be so combined, but that seems to be the way that these cars have gone, is that they're like, oh, we're an electric vehicle, we're going to have to lead the charge on all technology things for everything. You've got your driver assist stuff, you've got your phone apps, you've got your in-car media infotainment stuff, and they feel like, oh, because this is going to be the future of cars, we need to have all of this stuff completely baked. And that may be more or less important to you as an individual, but just know that for those manufacturers, the capabilities of those apps are all over the place.
And part of it is also, which comes out really good, is that you don't see a huge sign by the side of the road saying, electrify America, this exit, or see a Tesla sign nearby. They've gone strictly to the apps to direct you to those locations. And it's good and bad. It's good from the aspect that, do we need 80-foot signs along the interstate saying, electrify America, this stop? And as such, it's been hard for new people that are considering buying electric cars, because they're like, I don't know where to charge. I have no idea. Right. So then you go back to your PlugShare, and you go, you can go on to PlugShare. I helped a guy who was going to Norway. So to figure out where he could stop and charge when he was on his vacation. But you can
Not
go to
European
PlugShare and
Norway.
look in particular.
Norway, that's Michigan, right?
No, this was Norway overseas. He went.
Oh, really?
He was
The
going
actual
to
Norway? No kidding.
the actual Norway. So PlugShare came in and it showed what kinds of adapters were available
Awesome.
in various towns, so the guy could plan his trip. So he knew he was going to stop in this town to take pictures of the Freuds, the whatever, and he was going to have lunch in this town, so he could know where he could charge.
That's amazing.
And
yeah,
with PlugShare, you can screen it. You can screen it also by free chargers or pay chargers. So, right. And it's amazing how many free chargers are coming out for even DC fast chargers. Really? It may not be up to the speed of high speeds, but it'll be still maybe only 50 kilowatt charger. But for majority of the population, especially if you're going to a grocery store, you can pull in, charge while you're shopping, come out. It only gives you a half hour free, but at least you can get that half hour of free charging. And in my case, it gives me half a battery almost.
Yeah, and they're generally ad supported for those free ones. The DC fast chargers that are free, are those the Volta ones?
Correct. The Volta's tending to partner with a lot of places, both grocery stores, gas stations. Surprisingly, I know of a couple of gas stations in the western suburbs of Chicago that are tied into Volta, and so they offer it so that it still offers them as a convenience store. You can go in there and pick up your drinks and pick up a lunch or whatever. And some of them have dining areas in the stores. It's changed their model for what they are as far as being a convenience store, so to speak. But for the fast grab and go type of concept and use the restroom and so on and charge, gas stations are getting into the game.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's going to be inevitable, that they're going to have to continue to address this electric vehicle market because they're going to want to be relevant in 15 years. Like there's no doubt that there's going to be more and more electric vehicles out there, and the truck stops and the gas stations and all of that, they need to consider themselves as refueling stations, and it's refueling, whether it's battery electric, whether there's still some natural gas cars that are out there and compressed hydrogen or something like that. I think like there's different fueling types. They're not all as prevalent, but what I do like, so what I like about like the PlugShares and these apps and that stuff is that sometimes the charging stations that are available to us are kind of hidden in plain sight. I mean, there was on one of the road trips that I took, I definitely found myself to like a place where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm in the right place, but I'm following the instruction, like driving around to the end of the building, and like all of a sudden there's like, it's like this little mini mecca where there's like a couple little stations buried in a parking lot somewhere, and you find it, you're like, here it is. I'm gonna charge here for the next half an hour or whatever. But you would never find that even with the signage and stuff on the roads. Like it's not quite as front and center as one might hope it would be at this point, but it's on that journey. At least there's places to go most of the time now, and you're not going to get stranded. You just have to know what those apps are. Now, the other piece, so there's these the charging providers themselves. So the apps like Electrify America or the EV Go or even ChargePoint, each of these makers have apps which are not only there to help you find the locations for these things, but they're also there to help you pay, because most of these are not like gas station pumps where you slide in the credit card and you're ready to go. You're using the app, which you've pre-authenticated or added funds to, kind of like your tollway cards or whatever, like those kinds of things. But it's all app driven. And so you get there, and a lot of times you're negotiating to the station, the EVSE, like, okay, I am here in this car. I want to activate pump number one or charger number one, and then you have it, and it all starts going, and it charges your card on file, which is both nice and kind of constantly confusing, like, because every single one of them is a little bit different. And you are the pro, though. I saw that reaction. You're the pro. You know how all of these work, but I swear each one, it was like, okay, I've got to figure out this puzzle to figure out how to get electrons into my car.
Well, I think Tesla's forced everybody's hand to develop it so that the car communicates with the charger, and so that when you get near a charger, you can see which chargers are available, which ones are off commission. You pull up to the charger, you plug in, you can go back to your car and then initiate the charge directly from your card. You're not standing out there with a credit card, relying on the credit card reader at 20 below to hook you up. You can initiate the charge from the app on your car without getting out of your car, basically. And everybody's ramped up that type of capability. Going back 3 years ago, 2 and 3 years ago, well, 2 years ago when I got my first EV, you had to go up to the app and do it take your phone up there and have it read your app from your phone. Now it communicates through the car. So everybody's playing catch up to what Tesla had developed a long time ago.
Well, and to be fair, I've probably used a public charging station that I had to pay for less than 24 times in my life. Like, it's just been on road trips. And I mean, most of my driving of an electric vehicle is on my commute. I put thousands and thousands of miles by just doing the commute and charging at home. And I have my ChargePoint Home Flex EVSE at home, and so I use the same app that I use at ChargePoint stations out in the real world. So I find that to be kind of nice. And I know, like, Electrify America has their own home charger, and it integrates with their app and all of that. But you're right. Like, with a little bit of practice, a little bit of understanding, you do it a few times and you're good to go. So I'm still far less experienced in that area, and there's only so many ways you can have to get a charging session going and getting it done. But sometimes I feel like it's unclear what you're supposed to do to start or stop. I remember one of the times that I was doing it is that I literally am like, all right, I'm ready to go. I don't know the best way to stop this charging session. Do I use my app? Do I hit the stop button on the machine itself? Do I just yank the plug out, or try to cancel it from the car? I honestly don't know if there's one that should be better or not, but I just wanted to do something. Like, I wanted to stop the charge, but I ended up hitting the stop button on the actual EVSE. I'm like, that's seems like the, but it did stop it.
Yeah, a lot of it now is gone to doing it from the app.
Yeah.
And because if you do it by hand, or if you try disconnecting it and plugging it in, that could be interpreted as somebody disconnecting it and plugging it into the next car over and getting a free charge. So the apps have gotten, and the EVSEs have gotten to the point where, no, you have to say no. If you don't say no and you just disconnect the car, then it interprets it as a no. But we're talking about charging here, but about 80, maybe 90% of charging is done at home. And I'm out of the normal realm because I do all my charging through purveyors rather than, generally I don't charge at home because I've got 2 other cars that have priority over my car, even though I'm doing the majority of the driving. But what I do is I plan ahead. I stopped today to do shopping and picked up some mileage while I was shopping. I picked up 25 kilowatts of energy while I was shopping, and then continued on my day. So
Yeah.
It's a
And as
different
a
it's a
prelude,
different mindset.
right. Right. Well, and as a prelude, like we're not yet at a point where it works for everybody. And actually, in our next episode, we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why you may not want an EV just yet. And that's, part of it is if you can't manage some of the technical challenges with the apps or the the way that your charging situation at home or lack thereof contributes to your EV experience, it may be a little bit soon for you, and that's okay. Like, so we want to talk about some of those things as well, and that'll be in the next episode. There's one more app I want to cover before we end out this episode, and that is ABRP, a better route planner.
Oh.
That is an app that is designed to try to help you plan the longer road trips like you do with this constantly, and you're probably so in tune with this, you already know the answers under most of the circumstances for wherever you're charging. But ABRP, for a place where you're not familiar with the area and you're trying to figure out the best plan of attack to get somewhere on a longer road trip, a lot of people swear by that app. Now, I've not used it much. I've plugged in a few things and tried it out, but I definitely don't have enough experience there. Is that one that you've used, or what do you think of that app?
I had looked at it early on, before the car manufacturer app got improved to the point where I didn't find it as desirable. Because now there's a free version of a better route planner and a pay version. The pay version ties into the car's diagnostic system and takes a look at how efficient the car is running to make better determinations of how far you can go without charging and where you should be making your stops and those types of things. But the program that I use through the manufacturer has gotten sophisticated enough that I haven't looked at it, because it's already doing that as far as looking at what the operating temperatures are, what the wind is, and some of these other factors. And I had just showed you earlier that I hadn't realized there were some screens on here as far as temperatures and elevation changes and some of these other things that now are starting to get more into these programs to make decisions on where you should be charging.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And I have to believe GM is as capable as most any of the others. Maybe not quite as far along as Tesla and all the whiz bang features, but probably covering a lot of the basics in a really compelling way. So yeah, and that's something that a lot of the cars don't yet have, are things that actually take into account the diagnostics and all of the specifics about your car. And certainly in the Makers app, they have access to some of that information a little bit easier than they would in a third party app. So really, I think the point of this episode is really just to kind of give folks an understanding of some of the kinds of apps that are out there. And there's certainly like specialized like tuner type apps. Like the Tesla community has a bunch of crazy stuff too, but like there's a lot of things out there to help you with this. You're never out on your own. And that's something too that I find that the community, especially like with PlugShare and with the different message boards and stuff that are out there, they are useful resources. They will help you with most of the questions that you have. And as you are in the process of thinking about purchasing an electric vehicle and starting to live with an electric vehicle, by all means, check out those apps, check out those message boards, even the ones specific to the makers. Go to all of them, see what people are saying, because that'll be a really good information that you're not going to necessarily get otherwise. And two, you're going to have to recognize that it's going to be kind of polarizing, where because the people that go there are either the ones that are super fans of the particular cars, or the super like bad experience haters that want to bash everything. So you'll get the extremes and you probably won't get the moderate middle, but it is good information. It is worth checking out. So definitely something to consider there, and experiment and play with those. But you can download a better route planner or PlugShare right now. Android or iPhone, doesn't matter. Both are great. And start plugging in. Hey, I want to drive from Dallas to New York City. What does that look like in an electric vehicle? What does it look like in this electric vehicle versus another electric vehicle? You can start playing around with that. And it'll teach you a lot about what it's really like to take these cars on the road. And that's, free resource, continue the learning. So definitely recommend it. So with that, that's going to wrap up our show for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that YouTube bell icon. Please join our Facebook group and send your questions and topic suggestions to questions@electricdrives.us. If you would like to get live virtual recording studio access when we're doing these recordings, get your questions and topic suggestions to the top of the list, and help support the show, go join us on patreon.com/electric drives. Thank you for spending some time with us, and we wish you a smooth road ahead on your own electric drives. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.